I would like to start my speech with an experiment. An experiment which will involve all of you. So it kind of sounds silly, but please bear with me, because it's going to be without any harm. It's going to be very fun. But I want you to keep on doing until I say the experiment is over. Okay? Before that, no matter what I say, whatever I do, please don't stop doing it. Okay, so I want all of you to stick your tongues out like this. Okay, and I want you to keep it, please, everybody. If you are shy of it and don't want to, look like that, you can close your mouth, but keep on please sticking your tongue out. Okay, this is important. It's going to be fun. It's not going to harm you. Okay, so. Well, it's a sight to see. Keep on doing it. I need to make this immortal. No. Okay, so this is not to be missed. Keep on doing that. This is for my own. Great. So while you are doing that, I'm going to speak about some good old times when it was hundreds years ago. Okay, where men and women are very unlucky when compared to us. Alright? And at that time, actually, what we are doing or what we are going through is a bit luxury. Because in the good old times, the life expectancy is so low that actually it was like 200 or 300 years ago, you were already dead. The life expectancy at that time was under 30 years. Just over like 50 years, we had the life expectancy of 70 and 80 years. So why is that? It's because of the sanitation, the medicine, and all the kind of inventions like the surgeries, antibiotics has improved. So it also improved your life expectancy. And also, as you can see from that, during that time in the last 100 years, the infectious diseases, which is responsible for killing you even with a small cut on your finger. So these are all improved by the advance of antibiotics and medicines. So now, why are you keep on sticking your tongue out? Because it is going to represent something. Okay? So please stop. The experiment is over. Okay? How do you feel about it? What feeling do you have on your tongue after being exposed so much to the air? It's kind of a little bit numb, maybe dry, maybe it doesn't taste so good for a while until you drink a little bit water. Okay? But remember this feeling that what happens when you keep your tongue a little bit more than usual. Well, it's all about circumcision. Male circumcision. This is how the male reproduction organ feels like after the circumcision. Okay? So this is how you feel on your tongue. It is almost the same on this organ too. But I have good news and bad news about this. The good news is that, ladies, you have got nothing to worry about it. Bad news, guys, this is something irreversible. Once you do that, you never go back. So this is my bad news about that. So, I'm going to give a little bit detail about this procedure and what happens to it. So it's a warning. If you are a kind of faint-hearted or find it sensitive, now it's the time to maybe not watch the presentation. Okay, this is my warning. So what happens is that the operation is actually taking the foreskin out of the male reproduction organ and removes it. But this is not an ordinary flap of skin actually. It has over 40,000 sensitive nerve endings, blood vessels, and almost 1/3 of the whole skin on the organ. And it is a specialized mechanism of lubrication and a spring mechanism which retracts it and enlarges it. So by the circumcision, all this functionality and the feeling is lost. and as I told you, it is irreversible. So, why do we do that? Actually, this is not something new. Men have been doing it for a long time, even before the modern religions. So we know that actually cave arts in Africa shows that circumcision is practiced more than 4,000 years ago. Or even in some Egyptian tombs, the art shows the practice of circumcision. And the Jewish religion actually mandates the circumcision of male babies on day 8. And as you both know and experienced as the male in this room right now, our religion also practices circumcision. So it's a cultural thing coming from thousands and thousands of years ago. But what is the point behind it? So there are a few actual reasons for that. It's because in the old ages, before the antibiotics, I told you that even a paper cut could kill. Actually anything that leads to infection will kill a person. That's why the life expectancy was so low hundreds of years ago. And you can imagine that, especially where we have the modern religions popped up in Middle East. You know, the climate is a desert climate, and as this guy expressed himself, there is little access to water, and it's not only for drinking but also for self-cleaning. And the sanitation practices in the cities and towns is non-existent. So all the human excretion is just out on the streets or in the ground. And also fine desert sand and wind is an excellent vessel to transport all the bacteria around. And as you can imagine, the bacteria once goes through a body opening, it's a cause for infection. So what's a good point for the people than the infection of the reproductive organs? So this is actually why in these areas where we have the circumcision habit come into practice. But we also know that in the world, 80% of the male population is not circumcised. There are some claims favoring the circumcision, and this argument says that the penile cancer only occurs in uncircumcised men. And for the first few months of life in the babies, the infection is 10 times higher in the uncircumcised babies. But on the other hand, we also know that in a poll of like 500 men, 100% of time when learned about these facts of sense loss, they are 100% of them expressed emotional suffering, and even 20% of them feelings of parental betrayal because this procedure is done without their consent. And we know that actually there are thousands of botched, failed circumcisions which affected that person's sexual life for his whole life. And circumcision causes a decrease in sensitivity after the circumcision. Actually, the skin in that tip of the organ is keratinizes, which develops a callous material, which loses the sensitivity. And you see that there are many notes on the medicine papers showing about the side effects of, let's say, bad practice. So why do we have it still? It's not because of the medical habits. It's because the ancient habits of claiming that sex is dirty and masturbation is a sin. Why is that? Because for the let's say organization for the male population, less sex makes better soldiers, makes better farmers, makes better workers, and makes better citizens. So we have this institution to make it less practiced in the population. So circumcision may be one of these reasons to suppress it. So what I'm here to tell you is that, so leave the decision to the boy, okay? We are waiting for the men or the boys to be mature enough to vote, to be mature enough to buy alcohol or drink alcohol, to be mature enough to do some self-mutilations or tattooing. But why don't we give them this freedom of choice when it comes to the circumcision? So I say, leave him alone and just teach the guy how to be hygiene and protect his sanity by shower and soap. Thank you very much.